Hello lovers of Westeros, I'm Ashley of Noth, welcome to my channel. As promised, this video is the sister to our Who Will Cast Her Down Cersei video. Here we will explore the possibility that the future Maggie predicted for Cersei may be Jaime's as well. This idea was posed to me by subscriber Scotty16976, so if you see him down in the comments, definitely give him a thumbs up. Again, this theory is not entirely my own. Scotty16976 asked me about it. I thought it was a fantastic twist worthy of exploration in a video, so here we are. If you're interested in the possible duality of Maggie the Frog's words, you're in the right place, just keep watching. This theory stems from a Cersei quote. In A Game of Thrones, while talking to Ned, she says, "Jaime and I are more than brother and sister. We are one person in two bodies. We shared a womb together." Biologically, we know this is not possible because Jaime and Cersei are male-female twins, meaning they are fraternal, meaning they can only come from two separate eggs that are fertilized by two separate sperm. Conversely, this is a Song of Ice and Fire, so perhaps those rules don't apply. There's another quote from Cersei in A Dance with Dragons which suggests Jaime and Cersei's fates are linked. While supping with Uncle Kevin, Cersei inquires as to Jaime's whereabouts. Kevin tries to prepare Cersei for the possibility that Jaime might be dead, and Cersei responds, "If he were dead, I would know it. We came into this world together, Uncle. He would not go without me." Maybe the inclusion of these two quotes was George telling us two characters can have their fates directly intertwined, biology be damned. In any case, let's take a closer look at Maggie's words through the Jaime lens. Question 1. When will I marry the prince? Answer, never. You will wed the king. How could this apply to Jaime? Well, the marriage is one of duty. As a knight of the King's Guard, Jaime swore a lifelong vow to protect the king. Regardless of age, physical or mental illness, Jaime is bound to the King's Guard forever. Sounds an awful lot like a marriage, doesn't it? To further compound this reality, a reality wherein the knights are married to their duty, King's Guard are forbidden from taking an actual wife, fathering children, and holding land. The king is the only wife they will ever have. Speaking of kings and royals, Cersei asked if she'd marry the prince, referring to Rhaegar, and was told no, she'd marry the king, who ended up being Robert Baratheon. The same could be said of Jaime. He never got to marry Rhaegar through duty, because Rhaegar never became king. He died. But Jaime was pardoned by and swore vows to the new King Robert. So this fits. Question 2. I will be queen, though. Answer, aye, queen you shall be, until there comes another, younger and more beautiful, to cast you down and take all that you hold dear. Since question 2 seemingly doubles down on Cersei marrying the king, and we've just established how this works for Jaime, I'm not going to get back into that. Instead, let's focus on Maggie's answer. If we're to interpret this through the Jaime lens, it would seem that there will be another, younger and more beautiful, who will take his place in the King's Guard and possibly steal Cersei from him. I don't count any of his children as being dear to Jaime because he doesn't love them. Jaime does appear to warm to Tommen somewhat in A Feast for Crows, but it's far from love. And to my recollection, he never thinks of Myrcella in any of his point of views. So his duty as King's Guard and Cersei are all this golden lion holds dear. But who could cast him down and take these things? The first person who comes to mind is the Knight of Flowers, Sir Loras Tyrell. Of Loras, it is said that he's 17 and beautiful and already a legend. Half the girls in the Seven Kingdoms want to bed him, and all the boys want to be him. We know Loras was granted a place in the King's Guard in exchange for Mace Tyrell's consent to wed Margaery to Joffrey. His skill as a swordsman is legendary in the realm, so he's in the position to cast down and replace Jaime. In fact, Jaime advocates for Sir Loras to command the King's Guard in his stead while he goes to settle the Riverlands. However, Cersei overrules Jaime and places someone else in command. But could Loras cast down and replace Jaime at a later date? This is a multi-pronged answer. Kingsguard are Kingsguard for life, so Loras couldn't take Jaime's place per se. I suppose, though, under the Lannister administration, there is precedent for dismissing Kingsguard, so in the event that Jaime was dismissed, Loras could be promoted to Lord Commander. Be that as it may, we all know there's not a snowball's chance in hell Cersei would cede that much power and esteem to another Tyrell. Inversely, in the books, it's possible Sir Loras is conspiring against the Lannisters in some fashion. In an effort to disrupt the budding relationship between Tommen and Sir Loras, and to stymie more Tyrell influence, Cersei sends Loras on what she thinks is a suicide mission to retake Dragonstone. Based off a second-hand account from a possible co-conspirator, Sir Loras succeeded in taking Dragonstone but sustained severe wounds. Near fatal wounds, matter of fact. Funny thing, though, these reports from said maybe co-conspirator have not been corroborated by Cersei or any Lannister catspaw, and this co-conspirator abandoned Cersei almost immediately upon her imprisonment. So you have to question if he was ever a reliable source of information. This may seem a bit vague, but I will get into this co-conspirator later in the video. Now, if there is a conspiracy, we have so little information about it that we don't know the end game or what exactly is going on. It's very possible Jaime could be affected in some way. Whatever the case may be, I find it more likely Cersei would be the target as she's committed the transgressions against House Tyrell, not Jaime. It's also worth noting that Jaime at present is getting lured into Lady Stoneheart's trap in the Riverlands. He won't be returning to King's Landing anytime soon. This makes it virtually impossible to target Jaime in a conspiracy. Lastly, if Loras suffers the same fate in the books as he did in the show, he won't be casting anybody down. But due to him being outside King's Landing, I very much doubt this will be the case. Overall, I'm unconvinced Sir Loras will be the one to cast down and replace Jaime, but we shall see. The second person who comes to mind is Osmond Kettleblack. Osmond is one of 3 brothers whom Littlefinger uses in a scheme to exploit Tyrion and Cersei's trust issues. It's a bit of a doozy to explain, but hang with me here. To counter Tyrion's horde of sellswords, Cersei attempts to build her own horde by using cousin Lancel to do the hiring. Tyrion is made aware of Cersei's plans by Lancel, as Lancel has been forced to spy on Cersei for Tyrion. To thwart his sister, Tyrion orders Bronn to find sellswords who he can plant as double agents around Cersei. Enter the Kettleblack brothers. Lord Baelish dispatches Sir Osmond and his brothers to King's Landing, where they are hired by Bronn with Tyrion's money before being hired by Cersei via Lancel. The Kettleblacks were to feign loyalty to both Tyrion and Cersei, but in reality remain loyal to Lord Baelish, doing whatever he told them. Now, why did I pick Sir Osmond and not either of his brothers, Osfryd or Osney? 2 reasons, both of which mirror what Jaime holds dear. First, his Kingsguard duty. Sir Osmond was the only one of his siblings to be raised to Kingsguard. Cersei promoted Sir Osmond herself after stripping Boros Blunt of his cloak. Sir Osmond eventually comes to occupy the position next to King Twat Joffrey that was once held by my man San. And later, despite Jaime's objections and in a total usurp of his authority, Cersei promotes Sir Osmond again, this time to interim Lord Commander to serve while Jaime leaves to settle the Riverlands. So it could be said Osmond Kettleblack did replace Jaime. But did he take the other thing Jaime holds dear, his sister lover Cersei? Why yes. Yes he did. Many times. Part of his meteoric rise to power involved bedding the Queen Mother. In fact, Sir Osmond was so sprung off Cersei that he became entirely useless to both Tyrion and Littlefinger. However, Tyrion managed to get his money's worth out of Sir Osmond by exposing Osmond's affair with Cersei to Jaime. Matter of fact, Tyrion exposed Cersei's affairs with all 3 Kettleblack brothers as Jaime freed him from his cell. Dropping this bomb planted a seed of division between Cersei and Jaime that I think marks the beginning of the end for them in the books. Jaime is so envious and enraged that he constantly thinks about how Cersei's banging the kettle blacks, and these jealous thoughts drive him to ignore Cersei's pleas for help after her imprisonment by the High Sparrow. Even though Cersei's just using her cooch as an insurance policy, in Jaime's mind, she has been taken from him. Even though Sir Osmond seems to be a perfect fit for Maggie's prophecy, we should note a couple things. First, as I can recall, there's no definitive confirmation of Sir Osmond's age, so it can't be said for certain that he's younger than Jaime. Second, Sir Osmond's tenure as Jaime's replacement in the Kingsguard didn't last long. After Cersei's scheming to use the High Sparrow against Marjorie backfires, she confesses to betting the kettle blacks, and Sir Kevin puts Osmond's ass in the clink. So one could question whether or not Osmond counts. I suppose that's dependent upon your interpretation of Maggie's words. Was she talking about a permanent replacement or any sort of replacement? In this case, in my opinion, the amount of time matters little. The younger, more beautiful figure's presence is meant to mark the beginning of Jaime's end, because after them comes the Valonqar, and we know what that means. The final candidate I'd like to discuss for the younger, more beautiful role is Aurane Waters. Aurane is a bastard member of House Velaryon who served as King Tommen's Grand Admiral, the equivalent of Master of Ships. He is 22, so younger than Jaime, which fits the prophecy. Aurane is said to be handsome. In fact, Cersei thinks he looks like Rhaegar, but with a more narrow face. And we know Cersei thought Rhaegar was so good-looking that he made Jaime seem like no more than a callow boy. So if Aurane looks like Rhaegar, he's better-looking and more beautiful than Jaime. So again, he fits the prophecy. You'll recall that earlier in this video when discussing Sir Loras, I brought up the possibility of his involvement in a conspiracy against the crown. I said that there was a possible co-conspirator who was disseminating questionable info about Loras to Cersei and abandoned Cersei after she was imprisoned. That co-conspirator is Aurane Waters. In one of her brilliant decisions as queen, Cersei takes funds that were supposed to be used to pay the Iron Bank and instead gives them to Aurane to build a small fleet of Dromons. It is with Aurane's new Dromons that Loras sails to Dragonstone, supposedly. Aurane reports to Cersei that Loras took Dragonstone. Aurane reports to Cersei that Loras sustained grievous wounds from quarrels, maces, and boiling oil, yet somehow still managed to fight in the vanguard and take the castle. Once Cersei is imprisoned, Aurane left King's Landing with all the new Dromons Cersei paid for after telling her he would launch the fleet on the Blackwater Rush to try and prevent Mace Tyrell from rescuing Marjorie. In my assessment, the Bastard of Driftmark played Cersei like a fiddle, and it's quite possible that this is part of some grand plan and Loras is in on it too. Do I think Aurane is coming for Jaime's place in the Kingsguard? No. Do I think Aurane covets Cersei and wants a relationship with her? Well, Cersei seems to think Aurane desires her, but in her hour of greatest need, Aurane refused the call. So I'm going to say no. I'm including him here because of the possibility that he's colluding with Loras. If there's a conspiracy, Jaime could be affected in a number of ways, including getting cast down. It only seemed right that if I touched on Loras's involvement, I mentioned Aurane's as well. Question 3. Will the king and I have children? Answer: Oh, aye. 6 and 10 for him, and 3 for you. Gold shall be their crowns, and gold their shrouds. And when your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat and choke the life from you. The first part is self-explanatory. Because Jaime is the father of Cersei's children, everything Maggie says to Cersei about them goes for Jaime as well. The next part is where things get tricky. As we know, Valonqar means little brother, but in High Valyrian this word is gender ambiguous, so the correct translation is along the lines of younger sibling. So the floodgates are open in terms of people who qualify. The thing is, unless you're a member of House Stark, or even Daenerys for that matter, Jaime hasn't really done anything that would make someone want to kill him. Of the Hound, Jaime once thought, Sandor had been hard and brutal, yes, but it was his big brother who was the real monster in House Clegane. The same could be said for the Lannister twins. Jaime might not be perfect, but it was his big sister who was the real monster in House Lannister. And I don't know what the world is coming to, guys, but I've about talked myself into liking Jaime, and I just need to quit while I'm ahead. Anyways, it seems like the threat to Jaime is Cersei. Someone might be motivated to kill Jaime not because he's wronged them, but because someone wants to hurt Cersei. The first person who comes to mind is Arya Stark. I've said this in past videos, House Lannister is the main source of House Stark's woes, so Arya has the motive. Also, her training as a faceless man gives her endless means to be able to get the job done. We already saw in the show that Arya was giving Jaime some serious side-eye before she killed Walder Frey, so Jaime's on her radar. We'll have to see how Arya's plot plays out in the books because her story arc in Braavos is virtually the complete opposite of how it's portrayed in the show, so we don't know what she'll end up doing. There are some who think Arya might kill Cersei because of an exchange with Melisandre in which Mel foretells of the darkness she sees in Arya. And in that darkness, there were eyes staring back at her, brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes, eyes that would be sealed shut forever. Cersei's eyes are green, so some think this exchange was a hint. Jaime's eyes are also green, so who's to say this wasn't hinting at his death in addition to or instead of Cersei's? Another person who comes to mind that I'd like to mention as a possible Valonqar is Tyene Sand. I have absolutely no proof of this, it's just my own independent suspicion. In Winds of Winter, Tyene Sand is going to be sent by Doran to King's Landing, and she's to pose as a Septa and gain the High Sparrow's confidence. Now, Tyene is said to share her father Oberyn's extensive knowledge of poisons, and so I would find it really odd if Tyene was surrounded by Lannisters and Lannister cat's paws and nobody ended up dead. In fact, Oberyn's job was supposed to be to poison Tywin way back when, but as we all know, that didn't turn out to be the case. And so I think it's highly likely that maybe Tyene is going to do what her father couldn't, or she's going to attempt to do what Oberyn didn't do. Now, that's all, of course, dependent upon Jaime returning to King's Landing, but again, I just would find it very odd if Tyene was there and didn't try to get revenge for Oberyn. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Lady Stoneheart as a possibility here. Her sole mission in her undead POS life is to get vengeance for anyone she thinks wronged Robb, and given that the Lannisters mastermind the Red Wedding, Jaime would be on her shit list. In fact, we know he is, because at the end of A Dance with Dragons, Lady Stoneheart has forced Brienne to lure Jaime into a trap the Stoneheart has set for him. She's definitely the greatest threat to Jaime at present, at least in the books, so we can't count her out. Obviously, I only gave 3 examples when there are many more I could have covered. I'm limiting the scope of this section of the video because I don't think any Valonqar will kill Jaime, motive aside. In the books, Jaime has a dream in which he fights what sound like whites. Coincidentally, Jon Snow has a similar dream. As does Daenerys Targaryen. Now, why they are all having similar dreams would be a subject worthy of coverage in its own video. Maybe I'll do that sometime. But I think it's clear that all 3 of these people have a pivotal role to play in the upcoming War for the Dawn. So in my assessment, Jaime will live long enough to participate in the Second War for the Dawn and will likely die in battle. Now, this might be some Ashley of Noth fan fiction, but I think what will happen for Jaime is he will sustain perilous wounds, but he won't actually die until Brienne of Tarth finds his corpse. Because remember, Jaime said he wanted to die in the arms of the woman he loves, and I do believe that at that point in the story, that woman isn't going to be Cersei. Again, this is some Ashley of Noth fan fiction, and you might think that I'm romanticizing things a little too much, and George might not give that kind of an ending to anyone. But he does seem to be setting Jaime up on a redemption arc, and so I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that he would give that kind of a fairy tale ending, so to speak, to Jaime's story. In the end, I have to say this too, for the price of one theory, could fly in some aspects if we look at it with a broad enough lens. However, it's not all-encompassing, so I can't say that the theory is true. It was fun to explore though. I'd like to give a big thank you to subscriber Scotty16976 for inspiring the video. If you see him down in the comments, be sure to give him a big thumbs up. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and join my Khalasar. We'd love to have you. I'm Ashley of Noth. Thanks for watching.